So yet, are they suffering due to racism or the lack of moral character?
It is not either or.
So they're not suffering due to racism, and they're not suffering due to the lack of moral character.
It is both and some more. Does racism affect black employment? Yes. Are there other things that affect black employment? Certainly there are. Racism is one of them. Perhaps some character issues, depending on who the person is.
Let me go back to this. First, I want to say that racism doesn't exist. It's an illusion. What do you say about that?
I say that's silly.
You say that's silly?
Yes, sir.
Why do you say it's silly?
Well, I've been called names enough to know that racism exists.
But that could be because they just hated you. They made a judgment and they hate you, not because of your color, they just hate you. Welcome to the Father Stage. I'm Jesse Lee Peterson. Thank you so much for being with me. I absolutely appreciate it. I have with me Pastor Chuck Singleton of Loveland Church in Southern California. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
In a press release about your music video, Man Up, you said, the killing has to stop. While it's not universal, police brutality is real. I worry every time one of my 4 sons goes out the door. Can you explain that to me?
Well, maybe worry is an exaggeration of what I literally feel, but I'll illustrate it this way. My youngest, when he turned 16, in the community where we live, which is a nice neighborhood, pretty classy area, in the first 6 weeks of his driver's license, he was stopped 6 times without 1 ticket. Now, I'm not begging for a ticket,
right,
but there was a reason why he was stopped and a reason why there was no ticket. So it was what is typically called, it seemed to us, driving while black, DWB. Now, for us, as my 4 sons and I talked about it, we joke about it, and we talked about how to deal with it. The funny thing is that you asked me that question, and I was asked that by a local newspaper. I talked about that story, and the local police department saw it and made a special effort to come and talk to us. And we discussed it, and it just was a good instructional moment for all of us, for them as well as for us.
Did it mean racism or something else that your son was stopped so many times?
You
what
know,
did it mean to you?
Jesse, I make a distinction between racism and bigotry. Racism can be how you treat a person, sometimes unknowingly, because of their color or the race that they're from. Bigotry is when you have emotion, feeling, and perhaps prejudices.
So when your son was stopped for 6 times, what did that mean, bigotry or racism to you?
I would think racism.
It meant racism?
I would assume racism until someone shows me that it's bigotry.
Why would you assume racism?
Well, because I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I would assume that they're not feeling prejudice. I would assume that they're not hating my son, but suspicious. And probably with some degree of rationale to it, because he's in a neighborhood that is predominantly white, and he's black, and he's driving a nice car.
You believe that white cops are racist?
No, certainly not.
Why would you assume racism then?
Well, because he was stopped. So, in other words, if 10 cops passed him by and 1 stopped him, then that 1 might have stopped him because of race.
Why do you think so many black men and now black women are stopped?
Well, I imagine some are stopped because they were speeding or something. But I would think that if they're stopped in suspicious manners, or in the case with my son, perhaps there are some crime demographics. There are issues that are beyond our control.
Let me ask this first. Should police racially profile people?
No.
Why not?
It creates very negative attitudes towards police.
But still, should they do it? Just because some people don't like it doesn't mean they shouldn't do it. The criminals are not going to like it, but the good people will.
I've never been to jail, and I didn't like it. I've been stopped.
Why you didn't like it?
Well, I didn't like being stopped. I had a policeman stop me and tell me, "Did you know why I stopped you?" And I said, "No." Was I speeding? He said, no, I stopped you because you're black and this neighborhood is white. Now, if you like that, help yourself.
Why you didn't like it?
But I didn't like being
Why not?
told, you stopped me because I'm black?
Were you a Christian at the time?
Of course I was, yes.
So you were a Christian at the time?
Yes.
And if it's true that this person said that to you,
Oh, it's absolutely
you were
true.
offended by it?
Definitely I was offended by it.
How can a Christian be offended by something like that?
How could a Christian black man not be offended by something like that?
Because
If
when
you stop me doing your duty, and if you'll respect me enough, if you got to stop me for that reason, respect me enough not to let me know.
let me ask, did you love that cop that stopped you and did that?
Still do.
Then why were you offended?
I love my wife. She's offended me at times too.
She can offend you too?
Yeah, of course.
So you still have an ego in operation.
If you want to call it that.
And that's what it is?
There's nothing wrong with the ego.
But how can you be of God and of the devil too? Because
What's
it's
of
the
the devil?
devil that pushes the ego. It's God that set you free from the ego.
That's not true.
That is true.
There's a verse in the Bible in Philippians that says this, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The word for I in the original language of the New Testament is the word ego.
And you think it means that you should be offended by what happens in the world.
It means you exist. That's all ego means. So if I have an ego, it just means I exist. If it's under control and under his control, then I'm in good shape. I don't lose
So are
my
you
identity.
a prideful man?
I wouldn't call myself that, no. I don't think anybody around me would.
So why would you have an ego then and not be a prideful
As
man?
I said, the word of God says, I can do all things. Ego can do all things through Christ.
Let me ask this. Whose fault is it that Trayvon Martin is dead?
I suppose it's the guy that shot him. He shot him.
Even though he was found not to be guilty?
He shot a guy, so I suppose you
Could
said
it-
whose fault is it that he's
Right.
dead?
Could it be Trayvon Martin's fault?
I would say probably he has some degree of responsibility for it.
I say that it's his parents' fault and his fault. His parents were no good. They didn't raise their son. He grew up without the love of a father and a mother together, guiding him by examples. He became what he called himself, a gangster.
That's another ridiculous statement.
You think
If
they
you
raised
take-
him right?
If you take, I can give you biblical examples. Samson's parents, they raised him.
Who is Samson?
Samson in the Bible.
I don't want to talk about him.
No, you want to talk about
Trayvon.
They raised this man right,
Samson.
and he still went off the path. It's
I
possible
know
to do all the
Samson
right
and I
things.
know Trayvon. Trayvon wasn't a Samson.
I didn't say he was. I'm saying to you that
Or
you
his-
can't blame the parents.
Or his parents.
You can't blame the parents for how a child turns out.
You
Things
can.
happen.
Yes, you can.
Things happen.
You can absolutely blame the parents.
Okay.
Because if
You
the
have any
parents were
children?
good, decent
You have any
citizens.
children?
Yes.
All of them straight and narrow?
So far. They're on the right path now, but because, especially my oldest son, I wasn't there for him. He had a rough beginning, but he's doing fine now because I've gotten fine.
Because
I've been done better.
You've
I'm
done
better
better.
now. I'm turned
And so
back to
you're-
God. So my son is better, but because I was not there for him, he had a rough time.
So the only thing you need is to be there for them.
No, you need to love God and be guided by him. And his parents did not love and do not love God.
And if you do love God, your parents will never go, your children will never go wrong.
That's right. They may stray a little bit, but not too far. They would not become a gangster smoking pot and out stirring up mess.
You need to tell Billy Graham that because his son smoked pot and went out on the other side. You
So
need to
if
tell
that's true, maybe Billy Graham
you need
fell
to tell
somewhere.
George H.W. Bush that
Why
because
you
his
keep
son.
pointing
who
out
be-
the white people?
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't realize they were white. I'm sorry.
How about
No.
Michael Brown? Whose fault was it that he's dead? His
Oh,
parents
Michael
or
Brown.
Michael
That was Michael Brown's fault.
and his parents? Because they
I
were
can't
no
say,
good
I
either.
don't know that it was. And it's easy to call people no good.
What do
Things that
you
have to be
think
settled.
about hateful groups like Black Lives Matter, those agitators, people like Sharpton and Jackson and Barack Obama and others who have been promoting this idea that white cops are racist and they are protesting and causing white cops to get fired in different areas?
I wouldn't put them all in the same category.
And why not?
And nor would I say that even they can be measured by a given moment in their lives. You don't measure a man by the moment.
Why
You know,
would you not put all of them in the same basket?
Well, I think Black Lives Matter, for example, has done some anarchist things of late, and I don't.
Have they done any good?
In my estimation, they have done some good.
Are you okay with them saying Black Lives Matter?
With the theme itself, I don't see a problem.
So you okay with it?
Some of the issues and some of the approaches and programs that they put forth, I may not agree with.
Would you be okay with White Lives Matter if there was a radical agitating group like White Lives Matter out there? Would you be okay with that too?
I wouldn't have a problem with it in and of itself.
Black Lives Matter were chanted in New York. What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want them? Now. What do you think about that?
Well, I heard that and saw that video, and I don't think it was quite the way you put it. I heard that said, but that was said in the presence of a cop, and it was said.
No, I saw them marching down the street shouting.
Yeah, I saw it too.
What do we want? Dead cops.
The cop
when do
was
we
right
want
there.
them? Now.
The cop was right
what
there
do we
with
want? Dead cops. When do we want them? Now.
Right, and one
so
of the cops
it
was
is
right
the way
there
I
with him.
said that it was.
Yeah, well, it was, but it was said with a cop there. They were teasing one another.
No,
in that
nobody
context.
was laughing. The policemen were not laughing.
Well, yes, he was. You look at the video.
Well, I didn't see this one thing you're talking about. I'm talking about a crowd of folks walking down the road chanting, what do we want, dead cops?
Yeah. Well, I would think that in the case with Black Lives Matter, you have not found a great advocate of Black Lives Matter. My view of how civil rights issues should be handled is akin to what Dr. Martin Luther King believes. I don't believe in anarchy. I don't believe that some of the anarchistic approaches of Black Lives Matter are the best ways.
So I named Jesse Jackson, Barack Obama, Black Lives Matter, Al Sharpton, the NAACP, the Congressional Black Caucus, and most of the black preachers who are not called by God but by their mama. They're all in the same basket, but you didn't agree with that, right?
I certainly don't agree with that.
And why not? What's the difference between who in that group should not be in that group?
Well, I think, for example, your last part, and most of the black preachers who haven't been called by God but by their mama, I don't know how you can make such a determination. Unless you surveyed them, and maybe you've gone to the National Baptist Convention or the AME churches.
I've interviewed over 400 of them, and except for 2, all of them were called by their mama or grandmama.
Yeah, well, you picked the right 400 then. The reality is, whether you're in Los Angeles, there are more than 400.
Let me ask, black Americans suffering due to racism or the lack of moral character?
It's neither.
Why are they suffering?
Well, I'm not. And
most black people are, though. And why are they?
In the sense that it has the vestiges of racism. In other words, the root of it comes out of racism, i.e., if my father or his father couldn't go to school because he was black and couldn't get a college education, and so I come out talking in a different vernacular and cannot speak both my Ebonics, as they say, patois, as well as to be able to speak standard English, the consequence is I go interview for a job, and another kid who's white, who's had that background, whose parents taught him a certain way to talk or other things, then he's able to get that job, and I have some things that are holding me back because I can't talk a certain way, and I'm talking like this, and so I go to get the job.
Just for me, I'm black and slow.
Okay.
So I want to go back to the question, are most black Americans suffering due to racism or the lack of moral character?
Well, it is a false equivalency. It is neither. It is.
So they're not suffering due to racism.
It is both.
And they're not suffering.
More than both.
But you give me too many answers.
That's all you can get, though. I mean, everything's not a soundbite. There are some things.
No, I want to know, are they suffering due to racism or the lack of moral character?
It is not either or.
So they're not suffering due to racism, and they're not suffering due to the lack of moral character.
It is both and some more. Does racism affect black employment? Yes. Are there other things that affect black employment? Certainly there are. Racism is one of them. Perhaps some character issues, depending on who the person is.
Let me go back to this. First, I want to say that racism doesn't exist. It's an illusion. What do you say about that?
I say that's silly.
You say that's silly?
Yes, sir.
Why do you say it's silly?
Well, I've been called names enough to know that racism exists.
But that could be because they just hated you. They made a judgment, and they hate you, not because you're color, they just hate you. Do you ever have fights with family members?
No, I refuse.
But
fight
you know,
with
family members do fight, right?
Sure.
And is that racist?
Not necessarily, no.
And so why is it that when blacks and whites fight is racism?
You're oversimplifying reality.
Does the Bible say that we have a race issue or a spiritual issue?
I think the biggest problem with us when it comes to race relations is not skin, but sin. And so that issue of our problem starts on the inside. It's a person's heart. And
So the Bible says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spirits and principalities and wickedness in high places.
Yes.
Meaning that it has nothing to do with skin color. It has nothing to do with male and female. It's good versus evil. Am I right about that?
I believe you're right about that.
So then why should children of God go along with the children of the lie and call it racism when it's really not racism, something that doesn't exist, never has existed, and because it doesn't exist, we can't solve it. Why not call it what it is? So
you actually think racism has never existed?
Right.
Do you think you could trace your family history back to a thing called slavery, or is that my imagination?
I can. A matter of fact,
so you don't think slavery was racism?
No.
You weren't, your parents...
Because there were black people who owned slaves as well.
That's not my point. The point is, why were you a slave?
Because they just happened to own me. But let me tell you
But
this.
it had nothing to do with your race.
Well,
is
no.
there a reason why the preponderance of slaves in America, they were just accidentally black?
But you know, white people have been enslaved as well by other whites, right? And then blacks have been enslaved by other blacks. In parts of Africa,
That's right.
they're still is that racism?
Probably not, no.
Yes or no?
I said probably not.
I know, but I need a yes or no. You're a pastor, so I want to try to help people.
Yeah, I understand that.
Is that racism when blacks
enslave
other blacks?
Yeah. It can be racism, sir.
When
That's
blacks
the issue.
enslave other blacks?
It can be, yes.
How is that?
I'm black, you're black, I take you to the white slaveholder because you're black. That's racism on my part and his.
But we're not talking about white on black slavery. In Africa, black on black.
Yeah.
Slavery, no white people around.
Yeah.
Is that racism?
It can be.
But is it?
You'll have to check his heart. I don't know. The reality is the preponderance, the most of white on black slavery was racism.
How do you know that?
If you read the writings, if you read the diaries, if you check the historical statements made by the folks who held the slaves, the disrespect, the disregard, making them three-fifths, making them not a person, then 3/5 of a person, that is racism. It was institutionalized, codified right there in the Constitution.
No, that was for the power of the vote.
Of course it was, but it's still racism, regardless of what your motive is.
Let me move on.